laptop or looked at the international business deals to figure out how much Hunter Biden knew and how culpable he would be criminally.
Yeah, it's stunning information that has been revealed, and we'll start with the fact that the FBI knew a year before the 2020 presidential election. They knew in November of 2019 that the Hunter Biden laptop was real.
All right, so think about this. We were trying to get it authenticated, air quotes, in 2020 leading up to the election, but the FBI knew the whole time. You didn't need 51 intel experts saying it was classing Russian disinformation. That stuff was real, including certain text messages that make Hunter and the family look terrible.
So look at this. In October of 2019, the FBI became aware that that repair shop had a laptop. So that's when they knew about the laptop that allegedly belonged to Hunter Biden and that the laptop might contain evidence of a crime. The FBI verified its authenticity in November of 2019, a year before the election, by matching the device number against Hunter Biden's Apple iCloud ID.
So they knew at that time, as Brian mentioned, a full year before they told us it was Russian disinformation, that in fact it was not Russian disinformation, that it was real. And then, after knowing that, they stepped in the way. They began to slow down and get in the way of any investigation into Hunter Biden. Take a look at this as well. This is from Gary Shapley. He is the whistleblower.
One of two whistleblowers, by the way.
Says, if search warrants or witness interviews or document requests that include the actual subject name are not allowed, for example, that is simply a deviation from the normal process. It gave preferred treatment, in this case, to Hunter Biden. The case agent on this case is one of the best agents in the entire agency. Without his knowledge and persistence, DOJ would have prevented the investigative team from collecting enough evidence to make an informed assessment, which ultimately included even DOJ agreeing on the recommended criminal charges. I am alleging, with evidence, that DOJ provided preferential treatment, slow-walked the investigation, did nothing to avoid obvious conflicts of interest in this investigation.
Yeah, remember this? When they slow-walked it, we didn't find out about it until right before the election. They all knew this before the election. Why didn't we find out sooner? They were slow-walking it. They didn't want you to know.
All right, and by the way, this credibility is beyond reproach. Go ahead, try to poke holes in his background. You can't. He's got a good one. Now, here's the whistleblower, and this is the headline. Hunter Biden used Dad Joe as leverage in China business dispute. How do you know? In WhatsApp, there was one text message that was very revealing and maddening. He says, I'm sitting here with my father. This is to a Chinese executive, direct links to the Chinese government. I am sitting here with my father, and we would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled. Tell the director that I would like to resolve this now before it gets out of hand, and now means tonight. And Z, which is his #1 contact, if I get a call or text from anyone involved in this other than you or the chairman, I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me, meaning his dad, and every person he knows, and he's vice president at the time, and my ability to forever hold a grudge that you will regret not following my direction. I'm sitting here waiting for a call with my father. Now think about this. This is a guy obviously dealing with a drug addiction, a hooker addiction, but he's sane enough to put this together and use his dad's leverage to threaten a Chinese executive with direct links to the Chinese government, who has an energy company who is basically setting up deals to go places like the Congo and take their rare earth.
Now, one could make the argument, well, Joe's not really sitting next to his crack-addicted son, Hunter Biden, who's making this threat. But you would have to then ignore all of the times that Joe and Hunter are together on Air Force 2 when he's vice president, now on Air Force 1 now that he's president, plus all the other emails giving 10% to the big guy. And so amidst all of that, it's worth remembering how Joe Biden has said, no, I don't know anything about what Hunter's business dealings might be. Remember this?
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
Did Hunter Biden commit a crime? Have you spoken to your son, Mr. President-elect?
About my son.
Are you confident your son Hunter did nothing wrong?
I'm confident.
Do you still think that the stories from the fall about your son Hunter were Russian disinformation at his smear campaign, like you said?
Yes. God love you, man. You're a one-horse pony.
He still thinks he's impervious to any type of indictments, and maybe he's right. It turns out this federal prosecutor, David Weiss, to the D.C. Attorney General and said, I would like to bring this case forward in March of 2020. They said no. In October, he said, I would like to bring this case forward in Los Angeles. They said no. Now, how could Merrick Garland be saying I had nothing to do with this prosecution, David Weiss, appointed by Trump, was on his own, when we have a whistleblower saying twice this case was brought forward and it was rejected? Another thing worth bringing up. This woman, Leslie Wolf, said no one will ever search the guest house where Hunter stayed in Delaware because there's evidence there and we don't want to find it. Think about that. I've never seen anything like this. If you were to write this script for some type of mystery or some type of detective show, you'd say this is not even plausible. There's no way anyone gets away with that. This is in your face. The Bidens are untouchable. Try it. And this whistleblower is now worried about retribution because he's come forward. I hope the Republicans and any